Well, all right, you guys. Tomorrow is Elvis Presley's birthday. It's good enough reason for a video. I would like to start reviewing some of the stocks that we went over for year-end trading. Those ranged from GDC, CAUD, to a lesser extent, our twin sons, HNRC, Logic, GoLogic, Vocal, Wolf, CLNV, MMAT, MULN, and there's a couple of others that I had written down, and we'll go over those. But the purpose of this video is to go over HNRC and to go over its sister, HNRA, with my thanks to Billy Ray. I don't know his real name, but that's his handle on whenever he joins us on the live calls, Billy Ray Valentine. Looking good, Billy Ray. Feeling good, Louie. All right, so when I started talking about these HNRC right here, of course, this one says 1218, so that's not the year-end quote. But anyway, close enough. 0.025, 2.5 cents for HNRC. And then I showed you this chart that in my great skill, I saw something here. I really did. Anyway, I drew this, and this chart gave me the sense at, I don't know, roughly 3 cents, a little bit less, I guess. I don't know. That, well, actually, it is less than 3 cents. Because there's the 3 cents. This is weird. That's 3 cents and that's 3 cents. So around 2.5 cents. 2 3/4 something. That it would trade up to 3 cents. Yeah, that's right. Let me see if I have a pen here. I can show you what I mean. That first orange dot is 3 cents. So it's around 2.5 cents, something like that. That's 4 cents. Anyway, that's the chart I showed you then. And I just want to show you from Friday, or this says from the 5th of January. My eyesight's not very good. It might say the 6th of January. Look at how the chart has gone. It's gone through that 4 cent range, and then, of course, it's not quite through right now. It traded up over 4 cents, pulled back down to, I don't quite get these charts, because it says 4 cents twice. See what I mean? See right here? It says, it goes up to 4 cents here, and then it's at 4 cents. So anyway, point is, it went over the 50-day moving average, went through 4, and then it's bouncing there. To me, that is a very strong reversal of action, and it's normal that it would be testing the 4 cents. That was resistance, now it's support. And after a prolonged period of punishment, it's got a clear direction upward. Okay. I will just quickly show you HNRA. And you're going to see something about HNRA which makes you think of another stock. This is a SPAC. And for years, months, it traded at right around $10 over. And then it de-SPAC'd, and look what happened. Just crushed. Now, I've been told that everyone on Wall Street's just perfect as a hummingbird and don't pick on anybody. So I won't pick on anybody. But does that look normal to you? It trades at its value, and then as soon as it de-SPACs, the crushers come in and they destroy it. They destroy it. All right, so it went as low as around, I think 64 cents. You can look it up yourself. I'm having a hard time reading. And then it rallied back to 4 and then came back down, and right now it's around $2 a share. I'm going to talk about this one as well. And I want to point out a couple things about HNRC. I feel like I'm in slow motion. All right, here, the last week of the year, well, this says 12/21, HNRC was 2.7 cents a share. Okay, so let's move it on down the highway. All right, I need to make a correction on one thing I said, which was on HNRC's second dividend this year. I thought that it would be worth around 30 to 35 cents a share. They're going to distribute the HNRA, which is the huge... HNRC is Houston Natural Resources Corp., which is going to become Cunningham Energy. And then HNRA is Houston Natural Resources Acquisition Corp., which was a SPAC, and now it's de-SPAC'd, and it's the POGO producing properties. But the thing I want to correct, and I probably didn't print it out. I thought I did. I'll just tell you. I'll just tell you. I divided using Yahoo Finance's outstanding share number, which was a little bit over 30 million. When I looked at OTC markets over the weekend, the total outstanding shares is actually 211 million. Now, I don't know why the difference is there, and it may explain some of the punishing selling in the stock. If those extra shares are because of a toxic financing, of course, that doesn't happen on Wall Street. I have to learn to be, Wall Street, they have protections in place. Guys don't do toxic financings. They don't happen. But anyway, if there is one that did happen, maybe that's why the stock price is going down for HNRC, or did go down at the end of the year. Okay, what does that mean? I'll show you as we go, but I think it means that the dividend value of HNRA will be about maybe 10 cents instead of 30 cents a share. But that 10 cents might take a while for the company to grow into. So anyway, it's not 30 or 35 cents. It's around 10 cents. Okay. Now I just did a video on HNRC. I don't want to go all over everything, but I want to point out the NAV. On September 23rd, HNRC put out its release The company achieved a net asset value of 62 cents a share. And if any shorts are listening, you know you got to punish the stock because obviously the CEO is probably exaggerating, right? I mean, that's your approach, the naked shorts. You do some sort of cleansing of the US markets. And it's all normal. Well, let me just tell you, if the CEO does misspeak in writing, there are consequences, unlike when you sell stock you haven't located. All right, so, which is against the law. There should be consequences. So on the end of September, notably, the company achieved a net asset value of 62 cents a share. It's trading for 4 cents. That's at the end of September. So in January, just last week, Houston Natural Resources updates shareholders. You know, they talk about the name change. They've completed 2 years of audited statements so they can uplist. One would hope they don't go to the NASDAQ, but go directly to New York Stock Exchange. But anyway, NASDAQ has apparently more stringent rules, but the same kind of enforcement of those rules as the over-the-counter markets, which means they're set up for the criminal shorting that goes on. And I'm not going to back down from that. If Adina Friedman wants to discuss it, I would love to have her come on here and explain how NASDAQ is on the side of shareholders and CEOs rather than on the side of huge pools of money that sell endless amount of shares without locating them. And to me, in some stocks, you never see it bought back. But hey, these are good clients. But Adina, one thing is, I was listening to Colonel McGregor, and he made a really good point. He said that in the United States, we don't manufacture anything anymore. Our industrial sector as a percentage of our GDP, very, very low. But the majority of it is weapons, military. So what are we doing, Adina? We in your marketplace, SPACs, for example, CAUD, HNRA. It's like a sucker job. They're set up by placement agents, lawyers, and then hedge funds. They're so excited to be uplisted to NASDAQ, and as soon as they are, bam, right across the kisser. And then from the other side, bam, another one. Sell, 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 sell. Selling stock that doesn't exist. In the case of CAUD, they started selling before there were any shares out. As far as I know, it's about 60 million shares volume on about 600,000 shares that are in the float, that are in the tradable float. But it doesn't bother you. So what we're doing with this country, Adina, while you're earning 26 million a year, 28 million a year, is we're just flipping paper. And it's not a good long-term strategy. I mean, you'll be fine. You'll move somewhere. You'll move to New Zealand or something, buy a farm. But the people that count on your market, the NASDAQ, are going to be left holding the bag. Anyway, let me get off of that. I want to get back to HNRC. So HNRC, January, went through a list of accomplishments for the third quarter. They achieved 100% ownership of Cunningham. They filed with FINRA for a name change. They did an acquisition for gold and Nugget Trap Placer mine, 9% of it. They have executed the corporate action to spin off the WDHI assets, which apparently will be listed on NASDAQ. It used to be such a terrific exchange. The Cunningham assets are worth $2.54 a share. Okay, the thing I really want to show you, side by side, September, 62 cents a share NAV. NAV, 62 cents a share. January 3rd, here it is, 170 is added. Let me read it exactly. The company filed for name change, completed the acquisition, increasing HNRC's net asset value by $1.70 a share. So if you take 62 cents and add $1.70 to it, it's $2.32 a share in NAV. But the criminals in Robert Cook's over-the-counter market just short it right down. Anyway, I think the markets are about to snap back and really put it to some of the shorts. As you know, you can look up HNRC on their website. They're Cunningham Energy, and they are HNR Acquisitions Corp. Rhino, Cunningham Mining, they own a 17% interest in Worldwide Diversified Holdings. They own 15% of CE Energy Sponsors. And the one thing I cannot figure out is exactly how much they own of HNRA. The company has invested in HNRA Acquisition Corp. On February 11, 2022, HNRA closed its initial public offering, listing on the NYSE. Oh, so this is, I take it back, Adina, I take it back. This is on the New York Stock Exchange. You're absolved. With aggregate proceeds of $86 million. So this is actually listed on the New York Stock Exchange. I made an assumption. I apologize, Adina. HNRA is not on your watch. It's a newly organized SPAC. Anyway, they have a website. You can look it up for HNRA. So the main thing I want to point out about HNRC, quickly before I get into HNRA, is on what I just described, and I have to bring this down because I'm not going to be able to read it up there. On December 11th, this was announced. Houston Natural Resources completes business combination. Houston Natural Resources Corp. has announced that its portfolio company, HNR Acquisition, HNRA, has completed a business combination on November 15th, 2023, by purchasing all the equity interests in Pogo Resources, LLC, and its subsidiary, LH Operating. HNRC anticipates declaring a dividend of its HNRA position in 2024, subject to existing lockup, final board approval, and regulatory reviews. So they're going to distribute that this year. And then the other thing is, in this press release, right there, the company has realized a value of 15 cents per share in current energy assets, in other words, sold them, with a potential for a 10% per share future dividend. This is what he said October 4th. On his interview, he said they would distribute that interest. Then he said it slightly differently. Then he said it slightly differently. So best case, they'll distribute 15 cents a share cash. Worst case, they'll do some sort of share, share distribution. That's yet to be seen. Okay, I'm going to skip because I did the detailed analysis of HNRC before. Now, here's where the confusion comes in. There's basically 7.5 million shares of HNRA, and it looks like HNRC owns according to a filing, 7.1% of those. But then if you go in and add up the number of shares, it might be slightly more than that. But anyway, by the filing, it says 7.1%. So if you use that number and we divide it out by the 211 million shares of HNRC outstanding, it comes out on a fully valued, using the PV10 value, comes out to around 10 cents a share. Okay, I want to talk to you about HNRA. I'm sorry, I've sort of treated this call like I've gone live, I guess, because it's not as organized maybe as it should be. I want to give credit to HNRA, to Billy Ray Valentine, pointing it out to me. I think it's tremendous. Again, I apologize to Dina. It's a NYSE stock, which is fantastic. Although the New York Stock Exchange ain't what she used to be either. Okay, so here's the slide presentation on HNRA acquisition. There's a disclaimer. There, that was enough time to read it. There's another page of disclaimer. I'm sure you read it. There's another page. And I guess that's a good chance for me to say, this is not financial advice because I don't know you personally. I do recommend that you look at this stock. I think it's it's in my top 2 for a January-February trade. I'd have to say HNRC has an appeal to me, both for a trade right now, but also to be held if Frank can continue his ability to make distributions. It's a cash cow, so to speak. All right, so executive summary. Who is HNRA? They're a SPAC. They started I can't read it, so excuse me while I incorporated at the end of 2020. But it was formed to focus on the acquisition of underdeveloped oil and gas properties. Okay, their target acquisition, which they closed on, it's right here. Pogo Producing. I'll read this to you. An agreement has been entered into to purchase Pogo Resources for an aggregate consideration valued at $90 million, which includes a net cash equivalent of $63 million. Except for infill drilling through reduced spacing, their properties have virtually all the wells drilled and producing, which are needed, resulting in lower cost and risk. And the key here is they believe they can achieve sustainable high earnings growth. Okay, right down here, William Cobb, an engineering company. I wish my eyesight were better. William M. Cobb and Associates, an independent external engineering firm, conducted a study at the end of 2022. They estimated the proved reserves and the future income using a 10% present value. In other words, going out the years of production and bringing it forward with a PV10. They concluded a valuation of $434 million using the SEC commodity price forecast, which is the arithmetic 12-month average of the first day of the month WTI spot pricing for oil. That was back in, a year ago. What are the assets? Proven reserves of 434 million on 550 producing wells located on the northwest shelf of the Permian Basin. 13,000 contiguous acreage, 100% working interest. The net revenue is 74% average. Revenue in 2020 was $9 million for the year. In 2021, it was $18 million for the year. And in 2023, it was $35 million. They call it LH. LH has been profitable for the last 2 years. Okay, the purchase price of this property was $63 million in cash. And part of it was 4 months of production. Part of it was shares of stock in this deal. And an upstream company they set up. And a promissory note. And preferred units, but they also are giving $33 million at closing. They used debt financing of $28 million from First International Bank and Trust and about $6 million in equity. Okay, here's the reasons why they picked it. I hold it up because you can hit freeze and read it yourself. The PV10 reserves, proved reserves is $434 million. Property is in the Permian Basin. High history of success. Long life reserve base with shallow decline rates. Almost 14,000 contiguous acres. Low drilling and development costs. The field is producing and has been profitable. Property is located in New Mexico, a friendly state. Proven team. Best practices. And then here is the key thing. They plan to increase production 2.5 times over the next 3 years. And by the way, that production should continue producing for up to 20 years. From the call HNRA had, and you can go to their website to listen to it yourself, they looked at 35 different projects. They selected 7 to do intensive due diligence on, and they picked this one top project. I can't quite read my writing on that one point. But they currently are producing 1,400 barrels a day in oil, and they believe they can grow that to 4,000 barrels of oil equivalent a day. And once they get there, they plan on buying additional acreage. 95% of their production is oil. The revenues come from oil. I can't read my writing. Why take notes? Can't read my writing. All right, here's the water flood. It's a water flood. 95 active water flood patterns with 158 additional planned. So the 95 active are proved, developed, producing, and then you've got proved, developed, behind pipe, and PUD locations. So you've got 342 producing wells. There's 207 water injectors, 85% crude oil with 15% gas. But that's why the revenue is so much more, because natural gas prices are very low. The depth is down to 4,000 feet. Here's the decline curve. You can get all this but you see the production comes up and then it slowly declines over time. There, got that one? So the key takeaways: it's 100% operated, 100% held by production, 74% average NRI, 98% of the wells are active, low lifting costs of $15 a barrel, $15 a barrel. And that's been shown for a year and a half. They have a strong response to their water flood, 2.5 years of performance. They have a full development plan in play, ongoing. So there you go. Okay, so the key aspects of the execution plan: successful water flooding. We will continue to follow the plan from the independent external engineering firm's report, that's Cobb. Production will increase by 2.5 times over the next 3 years. They're going to use $90 million over the next 3 years, which will be funded using free cash flow and $45 million from an equity line of credit. They will pay down their debt and build a strong balance sheet to prepare for future growth. Okay. There you go. Take that down. Those are the regulatory and the you can look it up. Don't want to bore you with it. And besides, I'd get bogged down in it because I ain't no title attorney. Field personnel, leadership and management. In depth, you can go read it. Um, they have quite a few Italian names, which is interesting for me in the oil business. Then they have their technical backup. And you can go get all this on the site, just so you see that it exists. But here's the one I wanted to show you. Well, there's two I want to show you here. This graph here is the production. And, you know, over time, it's gone up, declined. I assume this decline is while oil prices were low, there was very little interest in selling oil, and a lot of operators stopped putting money back in their projects. I further assume this increase is because oil prices went up and these guys started working the field again. I don't know if you can see this picture. I'll try to hold it steady, because that kind of helps you understand if you're in MMTLP. You see that central uplift, the central platform, and then you see the Delaware Basin. Anyway, that was all laid down back when the dinosaurs were around. Okay. All right, I guess I'm almost done. They're going to continue to buy acreage. They have 500 well bores, I told you that. 40% of their reserves are in production. There's 60% left to develop. Very slow decline. This will provide a 20-year revenue stream. They have $28 million in debt with a 5-year amortization. I loved what the the chairman said at the end of the call. He said, we are going to do everything legally, morally, ethically, and profitably. So when I take, and I thought I had done it, so maybe I'll have to do it in front of you quickly. I'll do it in front of you quickly. I've got a calculator here. When I take, and please, you got to do your own due diligence. This is not audited by any means, and maybe I'm missing something in terms of some contractual obligation which will increase the number of shares out there. But on the face of it, if you take 434 million net present value at 10%, and you subtract, how much did I say the debt was? 28 million? And that's 406. Well, let's do it from that number. I'm trying to remember if there was another debt in that acquisition. Now, let's just go with that for now. And you divide that 406 million, which is already discounted present value. You divide it by 7 million 515 653 shares. That's $54 a share. Now, I'm assuming I'm missing something somewhere. So let's just take a quarter of that. Let's discount that number by 75%. Let's put a margin of error in my calculation of 75% that I'm wrong on this number. So it's $13.50 a share. That's my target for HNRA. HNRA. which you can buy all day long at $2 right now. And the red line is 914. The top of this spike is $14. 14, I didn't know that. $14. So this is 40 minutes. I'll try to conclude. It was a little rambling, I know. I think HNRC should continue to be purchased. It's trading around 4 cents. On the longer term chart, this one, this isn't that long term, but that right there is 12 cents. I think you can see it run there. This here is 10 cents. But I think you're going to find once you own HNRC and it trades up, you're going to be intrigued by those two dividends and other things that they do. Why is the stock down? It could be that, I'm sorry, excuse me. It could be that people are frustrated that the worldwide diversified holdings has taken so long to be distributed. I would argue that that responsibility may largely rest with the SEC. The other thing in the United States is a whole younger group of investment professionals don't buy oil and gas. And maybe there's good reasons for that. Maybe it's we're going to go into EVs, or suddenly we've discovered Tesla's electric energy that runs through the core of the earth and the atmosphere. I don't know. But I personally don't see any evidence that we're moving away from a hydrocarbon world. And so that might be one reason, that shunning of oil and gas investments, I think that's going to snap back in a quick way. I think as soon as the WDHI shares begin to trade, that doubt is going to go away. And I guess there's a small chance they did a toxic financing, but I tell you, the way Frank keeps distributing dividends, I wouldn't want to be short HNRC. I think it's from 4 cents. I think you're going to double or triple your money here in January. And I just re-emphasize that the net asset value per share is over $2 a share. HNRC's earnings have been going up, and revenues. And we'll get that report sometime in this quarter. But then I just think this is a beautiful story here. I don't have a lot of money to buy it. But this HNRA, HNRC owns, as best I can tell, 7 or 8% of HNRA. HNRC owns about 8% of HNRA. Maybe it owns more, but I could only find that much. Frank Kristen is going to distribute that to holders of HNRC. So we'll all end up with shares in HNRA. I think it's an exciting hold. This is a New York Stock Exchange stock, traded at $10 all day long. The D-SPAC came in on the New York Stock Exchange. So I was wrong. Has nothing to do with the NASDAQ. They crushed it. Just crushed it. Because it always works. It always works for the criminals to sell stock they can't locate. Now, the argument goes, during the day they cover. Do you see any covering there? That was just straight down. This might be some covering, but then it's straight back down. This also could be some natural buying. But guys and girls, this is trading at $2 a share. using the aforementioned Cobb engineering report, which was completed at the end of 2022, $434 million in assets. $434 million in assets on a PV10. So in other words, they're already discounting it at 10%. I just did that number for you using the outstanding shares that I see, but I admit there's some complicated, they gave preferred and this and that to get the deal done. So maybe at the end of the day, when we see the next presentation, there'll be more shares out and the Edgar filing will show more shares. But based on 7.5 million shares outstanding, that's $54 a share. Knock 75% of that value off. Just take 25% of that PV10 value. It's $13.50 a share. The earnings are growing, the revenues are growing, and there's never no risk, but there's so little risk in the development. There's just so little risk. 95 active water flood patterns, 550 wells, 342 producing. They got water injectors. Look at the decline curve. Very low decline curve, 20 years of production. And they're producing out of the 7 rivers, which you can look up again. I can't believe this is a New York Stock Exchange stock trading at $2. I don't own any, but I'm doing the video. I want to buy some. I personally think that the criminals saw a de-SPAC. Hey, we'll kill it. Just like we do on all of them. No one's going to come after us. We always win. And the bad guys are guys like William, who talks about it and admittedly can't prove everything, but the other side can't prove everything either. We need to have more transparent numbers, which I think in this day of computers we could have, and then there'd be no debate. But if we had more transparent numbers, there'd be arrests. There'd be arrests. So $2, let's call it 12 instead of 13.5. I think you make 6 times your money before let's say before before the first game of baseball. When's that? Let's say by Easter, you'll make 6 times your money. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. HNRC, HNRA, I'll try to do another video on some of these other stocks, one in particular, in a moment. Thank you for watching.